Yes, I am unmuted. Yes, that sounds
Okay.
great, Judy. Thank you.
So, so that's great. So thank you, Gina. Thank you to the TLC. This session is all hands online, building a college-wide community of practice in online teaching and learning. Okay, so let's see. I have Holly Davenport, who is helping me navigate the slides, and I also have additional support from Demi Spadadeus, who is in our department as well, who is also keeping an eye on it, on the chat room and letting people in. So first, let me welcome you to the session. I'm Judy Kahn, Director of the Department of Online Education and Support. With me today on the panel is, I've asked Gina Foster, the Director of TLC, to definitely pipe in to talk about a little bit about what's been going on this summer. I have Holly Davenport, who's the Director of Instructional Design at the Department of Online Education and Support. And we have our esteemed faculty, some of whom couldn't be with us today, but we have some who have spent their time since May up until just like yesterday, probably ongoing, facilitating the effective practices in online teaching workshops this past summer. They have shared their experience, knowledge, and expertise with about 330 of their colleagues, so they will be better prepared for online teaching. Their impact will no doubt translate to a better student experience and student outcomes this semester, and we can't thank you enough. Before I begin, I also want to thank Allison Pease, who has supported this initiative from day one, rallying the departments as well as helping us to fund the workshops. To Helen Pryor, who manages everything Blackboard, who ensured that we had whatever course shells we needed and had everyone enrolled on time. To Demi, who is behind the scenes now as co-host, and she continues to manage all the administrative follow-through needed for the faculty payments. So let me begin with a little bit of background. In April, Vice Chancellor Cruz sent a call to action, and among the items included information that the CUNY School of Professional Studies was going to modify their preparation for online teaching workshop and open it to all colleges in the university. Recognizing that they could not manage all faculty, and knowing that at Department of Online Education and at TLC, we have the infrastructure to build our own workshop, we recommended that we manage the training internally. So I collaborated with Holly Davenport to build the actual workshop to mirror the outline of the SPS course, but also to reflect the specific needs at John Jay, and designed it based on what we recognized would be important for faculty. So we worked on balancing two variables. One was having participants experience what it's like to be an online student and experience it as an instructor to learn about and apply best practices in building a course. And the second was, how do we balance online learning about online pedagogy and learning practical Blackboard skills? And a little bit, Holly will explain how those were implemented. Gina worked with us and the faculty from application through enrollments, and intentionally and brilliantly designed the cohorts, enrolling faculty from the same departments in the same workshop section. By experiencing it together and more easily and organically creating an online community of learners, the intent is to build capacity within departments even after the workshop has been completed. With faculty participants coming from a wide spectrum of skills in online teaching, from the novice to the experienced, the ultimate goal is to have faculty, to have you within your departments continue to support each other. I'll offer a little bit of time for Gina to share some initial thoughts before Holly shares more about the format and structure of the workshop.
Thank you, Judy. That was beautiful. And I think that none of us had any idea when we began this, what we were getting into, how it was going to go, and that we actually would get this many faculty through. It was astonishing. The context is the one thing I think I want to provide here, and that is that CUNY started kind of an initiative in mid-May to have more faculty trained online, and they wanted to get as many trained online as possible. So they tried to use the CUNY SPS preparation for teaching online workshop as a launching pad for this. However, even though they redesigned it to have more capacity and be more robust, they were only able to support about 500 participants at a time. That may not sound like much if you're looking at the entire CUNY faculty presence. It's a lot. At the same time, because it was only 500 in a workshop and they didn't know how many they were offering, they only allowed us to enroll about 50 faculty from each campus at a time. And they were very specific about who could be enrolled. And everyone else was left to flounder. So we went one better and we said, we're going to do it in-house. Judy and I, and Judy before me, have already been developing this work. We've been putting it together. We've been piloting variations of it. We're going to do it here. We're going to make it John Jay specific, and we're going to get as many John Jay faculty as we can get through so that CUNY doesn't have to do it, and we can do it in ways we think what we're doing will fit better. So all through this, just keep in mind, we took a big chunk out of what CUNY was trying to do. We did it our way, and from what I'm hearing, we look really good in comparison to several of the other campuses. Everyone's trying, but Judy and her team and the faculty facilitators this summer have been extraordinary. And so this is just a great success story.
Thank you. Thank you, Gina. Holly, I'd like to turn it over to Holly Davenport to talk a little bit about the framework, the structure, to give you a little bit background about what the actual workshop was.
Sure. Good morning. I'm going to stop sharing the presentation and bring up the actual workshop so you can see that. 1 second. Okay. So, as Gina and Judy both mentioned, we tried to create this to kind of be comparable to what SPS had initially proposed, but then we wanted to kind of make it our own. So between the two departments, we've been doing online teaching and learning training for years. So we had a vast collection of materials that we could provide to faculty to kind of help them get started and get ready to teach online. And it was, I think the real struggle for us was just paring down what we had. It's so much. And we kept having to tell ourselves that this is a foundational course, a foundational exercise for faculty, and you can always build upon it. So it was a matter of trying to figure out what's enough for right now, and then we can always do more later. So we took a hard look at everything we had, where we are right now, and then tried to build something that reflected the online courses we've built with faculty in the past that were really successful. So successful in, the student outcomes were met. The navigation was easy for both faculty and students. The facilitation was meaningful and well thought out, and wayfinding instructions were easy. So after coming with this big game plan, we landed on this workshop. So this is just a quick tour of the workshop that the faculty went through throughout the summer, throughout the various cohorts. So we just tried to mirror kind of best practices on what an online course could look like. Not that it should look exactly like this. There's no, one size fits all for online education. So you have to really think about what works for you and what will work for you as far as communicating that to your students. So this is just one approach that we've had a lot of success with. So, the course entry point is the announcements, and that's always the place where, participants or students will come that first day. We had a welcome message. President Mason created a nice welcome for the faculty to let them know how excited she was that they were taking part in this program. We provide some quick information about what to expect, the format, and then very importantly, what to do. So here, this is just the simplest thing, but to begin, please click Start Here in the course menu on the left. So little things like that, we tried to really reinforce to the faculty that you have to let your students know where to go and why. And so the start here is kind of like just the first day of class information. So we have a more robust introduction to the workshop, a syllabus and calendar. This is very important, how to navigate. So not everybody comes into an online experience knowing exactly what the designer had in mind. So to me, it was like second nature. Well, of course, you come in, you click here, you do this, and you're done. But that's not the same for everyone else. So you have to provide some instructions. So we have a screencast here, just guiding the learner through what to do, how to do it, and why. We had a workshop participant survey just so we could kind of learn more about the people that were in the workshop, their prior experience, what they hope to get out of it. Learning outcomes outline, all of this kind of stuff, expectations, etc. And then we have a meet the facilitator, which would be specific for each facilitator that you will meet here in a few minutes. So they each got to fill out information on who they are, what experience they bring to the table, contact information, etc. So what we're looking at now is just a very general template. And then we got into the content. So again, we struggled with how much information to provide to make it meaningful and useful, but not be overwhelming. So it was a fine line. So each week provides a quick overview, the learning objectives that the workshop participants should meet, and then a list of instructional activities. So this table breaks it out very clearly into what the activity is, when it's due, the estimated time requirement, and where to do the work. And where to do the work is important because for this particular workshop, we had the faculty, as Judy mentioned, it's important for them to come into this and be students. So they're kind of building that empathy for their students when they come to class. So in this environment, they are the student, but then they're also given their own Blackboard course, which was called a dev course, or it's kind of a sandbox, a practice space for them to then take the information they're learning in this workshop and then pivot and move that into their own space and really put all of these ideas into practice. So there's a few practice activities for them, and that's kind of the big heavy lift for this workshop, was to get them to a place where they felt comfortable creating their own online courses. So we have kind of mirroring the SPS format. Each week kind of tackles two big subjects. So we have the first one, understanding the learning environment, where again, the format's very similar week to week. So we have an introduction. We color-coded action items. So anything that the faculty were expected to do were blue. So here's a discussion. It's a best practice. Just introduce yourself. And then we have more content. Another thing that the faculty need to do, it's a quick quiz just to get people familiar with that type of tool, that type of experience in Blackboard. So you may have created quizzes for your students, but you weren't quite sure what that experience was like for them to take it. So this was an opportunity to experience that. More content. And let's see here. And then they're ready to continue to the next folder. So again, week one had two topics that it was covering. So going on to structuring the course, again, the introduction on what we're talking about here, the course design process, and then another discussion. And then I want to skip down to, okay, a practice activity. So these practice activities are where the participants are shifting from the workshop course where they are enrolled as students into their own Blackboard course where they are the instructor. So this first task is to now travel over to your workshop or your dev course, your practice course, and determine a logical navigation. So figure out how you want your course to be displayed to students and what's going to make the most sense. And so, of course, there's information on what to do, videos to help them make it through, tutorials that they might need to help them begin. And that's about it there. And then more information about, partnering with the library, some feedback just so they can kind of have an opportunity to express to their facilitators how they felt about the week, what they got out of it. And then we have a checklist. So just to reiterate, okay, these are the tasks that you were supposed to do in week 1. Did you complete everything before moving on? And then we have weeks 2 and 3. I won't go through all of this for the sake of time, but very similar format, everything that's expected, and then the 2 folders, the 2 topics for the week. In that balancing act of how much to cover and what was realistic, we did, for people that were a little more advanced or, could really sail through this and had a lot of extra time, we did provide videos and extras. So if they wanted to go a step further, there's a lot of information in this section they were welcome to explore and try out. So using Blackboard, some more information on extra things maybe we didn't get to cover, how to use video in their courses, things about how to course copy, extra tools like VoiceThread, Slack, e-portfolios, anything else that they wanted to learn. And the facilitators were pretty remarkable at balancing, the wide range of participants we had in sessions. So with that, that's a brief overview of what the workshop actually looked like and how people traveled through the content. I'll stop sharing and then we'll go back to the presentation and hand it over to the facilitators.
Thank you. I'd like to introduce our, the panelists, the faculty facilitators. We have Al Coppola, Gohar Petrosian, and Yulia Zabulina, who worked very, very closely and very hard with our faculty this summer. I asked them to think about their thoughts and objectives going into it, and how they manage the spectrum of the various skill levels within their cohort, and what might have surprised them during their experiences facilitating their colleagues. So I'd like Al, if you can please begin. You can unmute and
Yeah.
yes.
Hello all.
Yes.
I hope you can hear me now.
Yes, thank you.
Very happy to share with everybody today. Faculty Development Day is usually a day for making a lot of thank yous for all the work that goes into getting this together. But really, what Judy and Gina and Holly and the team did to pull this course together in an astonishingly short timeline with such valuable materials is awesome, and I'm really grateful to them for the amazing work that they did. My thoughts and objectives going into it. My feeling was that we had been through a spring semester of forced remote learning that was a kind of slow motion train wreck. I've been teaching online since 2015, and I found it incredibly difficult and wrenching to figure out how to change the class that I'd planned for face-to-face and do it online. And my feeling was that as a college, we needed to pull together and really sort of spend time mentoring each other to figure out how to make sure that the fall is better than the spring. So that was certainly my main objective in committing to run 4 workshops over the summer. And we've all been working since before the spring semester ended, and we're still working today. And that was what was required, and I'm glad to do it. I know that the course was originally designed and built on our kind of be certified to teach online just at the college. And so what we've also now basically certified a whole, a huge cohort of people to be able to do that. I guess I was less concerned about that and more concerned about figuring out how to kind of make, meaningful assistance and really meaningful interventions in pedagogy so that folks could be prepared to teach remotely and online in the fall. Maybe I should pause there and let others talk. I mean, I have lots of thoughts about, what my challenges were and things I did, but I don't want to monopolize. Judy, did you think of sort of all of us kind of taking a few minutes to?
So yeah, so you can give it, and then we can always circle back. Sure. Gohar, do you want to share some initial thoughts?
Yes, hi. So when Judy knows that I'm an advocate of online teaching. So when she approached me sometime in May to ask if I would be willing to teach our faculty, that, facilitate this workshop, I was thrilled. I was very happy to do that. But at the same time, I was also a little bit nervous because I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what that whole experience would be like. But I went into this with an open mind that this will be as much of a teaching experience for me as it will be a learning experience. So I went with that mind that I'm going to learn from my colleagues as much as I will be teaching them. And I think it turned out to be exactly what I expected it to be. I not only taught, but I also learned a lot from faculty. I made friends, which is also wonderful. I know far better the John Jay community that I have ever had the opportunity to